class is in memory of Jared Orchen. Today we're going to learn the Haftorah of Parshat Shemini. That was the Parsha from last week. 1428. Very interesting Haftorah. It's in the book of Samuel 2, chapter 6, 1 to 7, 17, the whole long Haftorah. Chabad says only chapter 6 until number 19, basically until number 20, and then there is the rest of other communities continue much further. The Haftorah is about the Ark of the Covenant in the time of Samuel was confiscated, right? In the time of Eli, really. They took it to the wall. The Philistines confiscated the Ark. 3 months, I think it was, by the Philistines. Well, made Tzores and Tzores. Eventually, they gave it away to Avinadov, and he kept it in his house. It was like he stored. Interesting enough, Samuel was never busy with the Ark. Prophet Samuel. The Ark is there, let the Ark be there. The prophet Samuel says, I don't need the Ark, I need the Jews. He went from city to city to bring the Jews closer to God. He made it his business. Then came King David. He became a king. And he says, Chevra, it's time to bring the Ark of the Covenant back to Jerusalem. You can serve the temple, but that's the beginning. That's where the story starts. Let's start on page 1428. Read the beginning.
David gathered 30,000 selected men of Israel, in addition to those who had gathered to him after his appointment as king. He proceeded with all his troops from Baalei Yehuda, where they had gathered, to bring up from there the Ark of God, which was called by a special name. It was called the name of the God of hosts, enthroned on the cherubs.
The God of hosts means the God of wars. Where's army? The God of the army. Mm-hmm. Who was the first one to call him God of hosts?
Tzvaot.
Tzvaot. Who called him Hashem Tzvaot? Yeah.
What's her name? Hannah, right?
Very good, Hannah.
Oh, very good.
Very good. Okay.
But I read that the hosts means like the sun and the moon and the stars and other things in nature.
More angels.
Yeah, but it's like God's army. That's the idea.
Right. But he's able to
in Hebrew,
command.
tzava
Right.
and tzvaot is the same word. Is the same thing. Mm-hmm. In English, it's not translated. It's host, but really in Hebrew it means tzava, the army, the armies of God. What's the army of God? The sun and the moon and the stars and the angels, all of the above. Okay. And maybe we will also be the armies of God. We are called Tzivot Hashem. When we are called Tzivot Hashem, the army of God. Mm-hmm.
Moshe. Moshe.
Where? Yeah. Getting down.
With
Why did Hannah refer to God as a letter post?
Good question. Well, she pulled some stuff out of thin air. I mean, in her prayers, some interesting stuff.
If you open on page 417, number 41. It was at the end. Go ahead.
It is a night in which God had been keeping in mind to take...
No,
41.
41.
41. It was the end.
It was the end of the 430 years on that very day that all the legions of God went out to the land of Egypt.
Legions of God. Tzivot Hashem. Here it's Tzvaot. It's not exactly, it's not talking about the people. It's talking about the host of the universe. But we are called the armies of God. But here the army that he refers to here is the, like you said, the sun and the moon and the angels and all of the above.
430 years.
Well, I'm going to it. Hang on. That's a good question.
Okay.
We discussed it at least 200 times. We'll get it another 200 times. We'll get it. 430 years from the day that God told Abraham
Isaac.
that the Jews are going to suffer.
Okay.
And 400 years from the day Isaac was born. That's how God calculates it. That's why we bless God for calculating the exile in a good way.
That's when he made the covenant with Abraham,
Exactly.
the covenant of the pieces of,
This is 410 years since the
Okay.
covenant of the pieces. Yes.
okay.
A lot of calculations is made there, but yeah, that's the ultimate. Then we actually were in Egypt for 210 years. That's one of the places that the Jews, that the translators who translated the Bible to Talmud changed it. They wrote 430 years, we came out from Egypt and from other exiles, they had it. And other places. Because it wouldn't match. In any case, we are, okay, number 3, back to our Haftorah, 1428.
They placed the ark of Hashem on a new wagon, and the cattle which pulled the wagon carried it from Baas
Avinadav.
in Gevurah, Avina's sons.
Okay,
Jesus.
Avinadav is the father, and in his house it was the Ark of the Covenant. And his 2 sons, Uzzah and Achio, the sons of Avinadav, they were leading the new wagon. Why he took a new wagon?
New way.
Because honor of God. Don't bring something that somebody else was using it.
Right.
Beautiful, right? So nice. Everybody came, a whole parade of 30,000 people plus. A big to do. Okay, number 4.
The wagon carried the ark of God from Baas of Avinadav in Giva.
Giva is a place.
Achio walked in front of the ark, and Uzzah to the side of the ark.
Achio went in front of the ark, the 2 sons, right?
Right.
And Uzzah in the back.
David and all Israel played.
But you know, you remind us a little bit from the
Nadav
Parshat.
and Avihu.
Nadav and Avihu, and this is Avinadav, the same name.
Right.
And there is Avinadav, is Nadav and Avihu. Avihu and Nadav. The 2 names are within one name, Avinadav.
Just in case you missed the connection.
Exactly. If it's not clear enough. Okay, and the number 5.
Is there a commentary to that in the sense that they may be like reincarnations, or this is sort of the same kind of a...
Sure.
Dave,
Now I'm not making my own commentary to reincarnation, but that's how reincarnation is thinking. Yes, no question about it.
okay. David and all Israel played before the ark of God on all sorts of cypress wood instruments, lyres, harps, drums, castanets, and cymbals.
It was a big party, dancing and singing and clapping and knocking and knocking, and bringing the Ark of the Covenant. Great, right? Beautiful party.
Right.
Also, when they inaugurated the temple, it was a big party in the desert. The story of the Parsha with Nadav and Avihu was a big party. It was finally, they built a temple, finally the light of the Shekhinah, the presence of God came down to the temple. The party was unbelievable.
It was like the inauguration ball.
It was an inauguration, it was an inauguration ball, yes. Absolutely.
Seems every time you sort of have inaugurations, most of them go badly. It doesn't go well with Solomon either, because they kind of celebrated into Yom Kippur. They kind of got carried away there, losing track of things.
We're off. Moses came down with the tablet.
Yeah.
They were walking.
Right.
And the Medrash said, because it was too much commotion. Then what is there? How much commotion should be? What should we do? Whatever we do is wrong.
Everything in moderation.
Moderation, yeah, but
But life would be very boring.
now moderation, sometimes God wants you to get out of your moderation.
Didn't David jump and do twirls and stuff?
Wait a
Yeah,
second.
this
well,
is-
that's-
Wait a
It's
second.
coming out.
That's coming up.
Number 6.
Wait, before you go on, I just want to ask a question about, this is the Ark of the Covenant that we're talking about,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
all these people. I
Yeah.
mean, how could they, are these all holy people that could be by the Ark?
Well, that's part of the
Yeah,
problem.
that's-
That's
Well,
part of
what's
the
the
problem.
problem?
in
I
the
don't understand
temple.
what's the question.
His question is where the Levites.
It's on the
right?
outside, right?
The Levites
saying?
were not,
Pardon?
the Cohens and the Levites were not around. That was the problem.
The-
The wrong people were dancing around the temple, around the ark. That was a part of the problem. We'll get to it. Number 6.
Okay. When they arrived at Goren Nachan, Uzzah reached out to the ark of God and grabbed it, because being on the side, he noticed that the oxen had slipped, and he thought that the ark would fall off the wagon. God became angry at Uzzah for his lack of faith in thinking that the ark would fall, and God struck him for inadvertently forgetting that it was God's ark, and he died there next to the ark of God.
Oh, yeah.
Where's the ox that was pulling the wagon? Is that? Because I thought that you couldn't use I thought you had to carry.
Really? That's the problem.
With the poles.
You were supposed to be
Levites supposed to be
people. It was the
carrying
And they-
Levites
and
were
they
carrying it,
carried you, but
and
Yeah, but that's another.
No, this is the B team.
this is not even. This is a Z team.
So this
What is happening here?
is not well thought
Uzzah
out.
died. Question is why Uzzah died.
well, it says
Well, but you're
On
not
the
allowed to
surface,
touch. You're
it
not
says
allowed to
He-
touch
he
the
didn't
ark.
have faith.
Period. It's not
it
just a.
says that, but you don't know.
You're not allowed to touch the ark.
But you should let the ark fall.
No, it's a
See, the-
question mark. It's a
It's a
mystery.
I thought that the whole purpose in carrying it, the ark really was too heavy. That really, the ark helped carry the people that were, that the Torah held them up. So there is a lack of faith because
Where is it? It's in Parshas Bamidbar somewhere. Where is the Agolos? No, Agolos? Yeah, in Parshas Nosai. Who bought the wagons?
In Nassau?
In Nosai should be somewhere.
You talk about the dedicated the donations of all the tribes?
Yeah, where's the donations? It should be a little earlier.
It's not Chabad.org, right?
No.
It says somewhere, then there is 3 families in the Levites.
right.
Chaos, Gershon, and Merari. Everyone had a job, what to carry, what type part of the temple to carry. And they bought wagons. They donated wagons to carry the whole ark on the road. But the family of Chaos did not get wagons. Why? Because they have to carry it on the shoulder. What was the job of the people of Chaos, the family of Chaos, to carry the Ark of the Covenant? Then the first mistake was that you were not allowed to carry it on a wagon. The second mistake was that it had to be done by the Levites, not by regular people.
So but it still doesn't answer the question of why Uzzah is killed.
Because he touched the tent.
He touched it.
Don't touch nuclear.
And he
reactors.
looked at it. And he was in the wrong place in the wrong time. Talking about a guilt offering of the whole community?
I think it's, is it
Could be. Tell me what page.
879 or 881
879.
or 880?
880. Let me see. Yeah, you're getting some. Where is it? Where you see about chaos?
That's what I'm looking. I see Gershon, Merari.
What was it?
Should be somewhere.
Moses, Aaron, leaders counted
Oh, but I looked
Amos'
there.
descendants.
I looked there and I couldn't find it.
Duties of Merari's descendants.
Yeah, that's the duties. Yeah, but where it's written, this is, yeah, here it's written that they have to carry the ark, yes.
So why didn't David know this?
Oh, why did David
Why isn't he
know
taking a
that?
task for that?
Why did he take a census?
No.
Well,
It's a separate issue.
The Gemara says, this is written, what if they do this? But there is a place, not a place. Where they give
Kehos
up?
carried the ark
Yeah.
down here, down there this way because Kehos carried the ark.
Yeah. These are the quote from where? 21. Where is about chaos? That's Gershon. Oh, here, chaos is before. Chaos is
Here, it's down
on
here.
page
It's down here.
875.
878 down here.
Yeah, but
Chaos
before that,
descendants were devoted exclusively to carrying. Trials, therefore, they were singled out for the surface of carrying. Gershon's descendants were devoted primarily to carrying property.
here it is. It's written right here on page 871. It says the job, in the text, the job of chaos. Number 5.
When the camp is about to travel,
Yes.
Aaron and his sons should come and take down the partition, and they should cover the ark of the testimony with it. They should place a covering of takshish skin on it, and then they should spread a garment of pure turquoise wool on top
Exactly.
of it, on that. Then they should put its poles into. I thought the poles were already there.
Okay, no, yeah.
I mean, the explanation for why Nadav and Avihu died, that's also controversial, but it seems more clear. They give unauthorized incense. You know, they may have been drinking or they may have been arrogant, whatever. But here, there's
they were excited. They were excited. And he was excited. And Uzzah was excited.
But he was trying in his brain to stop. He saw it tilting over, which gravity would normally take if it were not the Ark of the Covenant. Right? I mean,
Flash of faith. Yeah, it's
So-
back into-
No.
so it says he didn't have.
So what are you
So
supposed to learn
it, so
from
wait a
this?
minute.
He
if it-
was treating the Ark of the Covenant like a regular thing. That's the
Well, they
problem.
all were. They were schlepping it on a wagon and doing it around and
Okay.
dancing in front of it. And,
Okay, but he
Right,
touched it.
Right. You know, I understand, you know, the idea of that the holy and the sacred is a powerful thing. It's a blessing, but it can also be a dangerous
If you-
and
It can
be a
powerful
curse.
thing. I mean, Moses,
It's not a curse. We'll talk about it in a minute, but
Right.
it's how you treat it.
right. I mean, I can understand that, but the idea of here, why this particular person
He
is the
touched it. He touched the Ark. Nobody asked him, right? He did it. He had good intention, but
Did you see the movie where they took the lid off the ark and what happened to the guy? You know?
Exactly.
but
That was nice.
I mean, if this were not this book and this history, and someone else were writing this, and the ark would have, God forbid, have fallen, which you're going to say it couldn't have done. But can you imagine that we wouldn't be here? These chapters would be done, you know, finished. I mean, you know, clearly these are lessons for us to learn. But you know, had it been,
Everybody's defending Uzzah.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think we're.
That's nice. But why King David made a mistake like this?
Right. Well, the
Yeah.
only
Talmud
one that
says-
chastised David
The
was Nechal.
Talmud says, yeah, by the way, when you want to chastise David, somebody else pays the bill. It's not a new thing.
That's the old story. You can't
What
win.
does the Talmud say?
You can't win. You can't win.
Well, David, he gets his comeuppance.
Nachshon jumped into the water, did the right thing, right? Uzzah touched the ark, did the wrong thing. Yeah. That's the way it
Well,
goes.
God said, "What are you waiting for next?"
He didn't tell Nachshon.
It's just like the
Nachshon did it on his own, just like Uzzah.
No, he went forward. He was supposed
Pinchas
to.
did it too on his own.
He almost didn't make it.
He was-
You're right.
Pinchas did.
or the
Then that's always the question, when yes and when no. And more than seichel, you need luck. What's the luck? The luck is when you are so connected to God that you make the right decisions, the right choices. If you are truly, really connected to God, you'll make the right choices, unknowingly. But if you have your own agenda, I saw in my life, my father made many times just the right choice, not because he knew anything. He was so dedicated, just walked out.
He felt it.
But many people who are in the synagogue in my community that I grew up were much smarter than father in learning and everything. But they made the wrong choices. Because it's not about being smart and how much knowledge you know. It's how much you are dedicated, how much you give yourself away. If you dedicate your life for God, God will guide you the right way. Nachshon and Uzzah is not such a big far thing. Somebody can say, if Nachshon would drown, what do you tell him? Who asked you, Meshuggah? Who asked you to jump into the water? Anybody asked you, or Moshe Rabbeinu is standing here, who asked you to run? What they told Pinchas? They told Pinchas, Moses is standing, Elazar is there. Who are you, young boy, sticking your nose in this big business? They saw the all 71 Sanhedrin members, the leaders of the tribe. You? That's why God needed to testify on him that he did it for the right reason. But if Nachshon would drown, what he would sit and talk about? If he wouldn't even remember his name, by the way. But even if he would remember his name, he would say, Nachshon, Anu Chochem, jumps into the water. Anybody asked you? Hashem told Moses, split the sea. Split the sea. Now that it worked, Nachshon is remembered. Why Nachshon was Zoiche, had the merit to make the right choice? Because he was connected.
Well, the perfect example is Korach.
No. Korach made Tzores.
No, but he had.
was connected to what?
He's like all of us. We want to be.
Korach was full of arrogance. That was the problem.
Yes, but
That's the opposite of connection.
I'm saying that's true. But he had his reasoning was one that's meritorious in a sense that we all should be priests. That we should all.
Oh, that's a problem. He took his reasoning to God.
I know.
He tried to measure God by his logic. If Moses is this, we should all be holy because we're all standing at Mount Sinai. That were all excuses for his arrogance, a cover-up for his arrogance. Where Nachshon didn't think about himself. Nachshon thought about God, not about himself. We have to go, let's go. You're right. I was learning this Haftorah with somebody else a few days ago, and he told me that in Nachshon, the answer is to make the right choice, you need to have luck. Good luck, a lot of good luck. And when you get this good luck, when you are really dedicated, not fake, real. If it's not about you, it's about God. If it's be about God really, don't make the right choices. Without knowing anything, you will just go to the right place.
So is the implication that Uzzah did it because he wanted to be a hero and catch
I
it?
don't know what was it, Uzzah. I have nothing
The right
against Uzzah.
instincts.
I'm not going
The
to
wrong place, the wrong time.
smear.
Well, you were about to say something about the Talmud, but this whole thing is
One
wrong.
second.
It's all wrong.
What's wrong?
This whole story is taking the Ark of the Covenant, and this is the Holy Holies. This is.
Then the Talmud is asking, why it happened such a mistake to King David? Talmud answers in the book of Psalms, King David says, Zmirois oyu lichukecho. Your words, your law, were like a song to me, they were like a song. I love them so much, I sing it. God told them they're a song to you. What means a song? It's easy. A song to you. I'll show you that you'll make a mistake in things that kids and Cheder know. Everybody knows you don't carry the Ark of the Covenant on a wagon. Everybody knows the Levites have to do it. It's in the text.
Where were the Levites, by the way? On vacation?
There, yeah.
I mean, the point is.
They might be there. King David is the boss. Nobody messes around with them.
30,000.
On the beaches in Tel
It
Aviv.
says 30,000 selected men.
Not Levites.
Apparently not.
I mean, the point is that David wanted stability for the ark. He wanted it in one place, in a fixed
He had good
place.
intention. Very good intention. But he did it the wrong way. And what happened here is, as in a minute we'll see, Let's see number 6, for example, 7, just to get a little out of this Uzzah fiasco.
No, but
Not
eight.
yet.
You're right there at eight.
One more comment.
Yeah, please.
I mean, what you're saying is like it's almost as though the stars need to be aligned, and you said luck. Isn't that ultimately what Mazel Tov
Muzzle.
Mazel.
implies?
Mazel.
It's
Mazel.
that you should have good constellations.
No, it's above the stars.
Good luck, yeah. Good luck. Yeah.
Our destiny isn't shaped by the stars.
But
You
the
still
luck,
need a good
but
luck.
the
You
Mazel,
see, that little luck wouldn't hurt anybody, I can promise you this.
but the luck relates to constellations at a deeper level. doesn't
No,
it?
it's actually.
You say good
the,
fortune? Good fortune? The luck?
Good fortune, maybe.
it-
The point is,
But they're God's constellation.
you know, there is a saying that a very rich man said, asked him what he made mine, said 95% is luck, 5% is my seichel, my brains, and if it would be 100% luck, I would be richer. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then it's all about being in the right place at the right time.
You picked Solomon.
So it's all the
But
right
you
place
said
at the right time. It was more luck than seichel. I had no idea where I was going. And the truth is, I was ready to go to any place in the world. I really was. Didn't make any difference to me. I knew I have to learn a new language. Could be Spanish, could be any language. I didn't care. I was ready to go. We had an idea to go to Spain somewhere, in Gothenburg, and a few places. Then we ended up in Zolan.
I hear
maybe-
Twinsburg is the next
Didn't the
spot.
Rebbe pick, didn't you say the Rebbe?
We asked the Rebbe. The Rebbe didn't tell us.
Maybe
what to do.
God knew you didn't have
He
to.
gave him a blessing, that's all.
The Rebbe gave us the agreement and the blessing.
One of the others.
Could you imagine him talking Spanish?
And if you imagine, I wouldn't imagine myself speaking English. In any case, number 7, the Rebbe told once in his early years, take the map, I'm not going to tell you where to go. Very few people Rebbe told where to go, maybe 2, 3. The rest of them, he says, take the map, find a place, and go. And we used to write to the Rebbe and ask for his approval and blessing. The Rebbe gave me a great blessing. He said, may it be in a good and auspicious time. Then he gave me another blessing later. And since then, every day is a good and auspicious time in Solomon. Every day.
He struck oil right here in Solomon.
Number 7. Go ahead. 8? Okay, no. Yeah, you're right. 8. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
David was upset with himself because of God's outburst against Uzzah, and he called the place Peretz Uzzah, the breach of Uzzah, as it is known to this day. David feared God's ark that day, and he said to
David feared God's ark that day. It means that before,
He didn't respect
it was
it.
only love, not fear.
Yeah.
That's the problem. He did not have this respect. It's not enough to have love.
Well, but wait
He
a
was
minute.
all excited. It was only simcha, only joy, only excitement. There was
Fear,
no
fear.
respect. Hey, it's the ark of God. Don't run. Think what you do.
Was he capturing this? Was this a capture for the
No, it's
Philistines?
not a capture, no.
Where,
The Philistines didn't
a
want
long
it.
time ago.
They were terrific.
Philistines gave it up, and
They had enough of this
Yeah,
one.
they had enough of that. They gave it
It
back
was in
right
the
away.
house of Abinadab.
Yeah, it was a Jewish house.
oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
which was
David
blessed.
feared God's ark that day, and he said to himself, how can God's ark come safely with me, since it is so holy? How can I possibly look after it properly? So David did not want to bring the ark of God to his place in the city of David, and he made a detour to the house of Oved-Edom the Gittite.
Then David suddenly got huge respect and fear of the ark, and he says, I don't need it. I cannot live up to it.
So even at that point, why didn't he summon the Levites?
He didn't want to touch it. He said,
He
"It's
wasn't
okay."
going to. They-
Go on.
We already know.
First of all, time out. That's first of all. Time out. Let's stop everything. The party is over. Just like in the story of the Parsha, when they inaugurated the temple, the 2 sons of Aaron died and ruined the party. Same thing happened there. It was a big party. What really happened in the inauguration of the temple? They had such love to God. They run it over. What was missing? Respect. Respect. What do you mean you run? He's your friend? Love, it's all about love, but love is losing respect.
There's still boundaries to it.
So how did they pick this house? Was it just the closest one in town?
Probably.
Or it wasn't because of his great meritorious nature?
I don't know, maybe, but it probably was the first detour. Go there.
pull over and just drop it into the clear.
Exactly, pull over. That's literally what happened. Go ahead. Number 11.
The ark of God was delayed there for 3 months, and God blessed Obed Edom and his entire household.
Oy. Suddenly, David says the ark of God is killing people. That's why he doesn't want it. Suddenly, here's the news that the ark of God is bringing huge blessing. What was the blessing to Obed Edom? His wife gave birth to a boy. All his daughter-in-laws gave birth to boys. It was Freilach. Blessings upon blessings.
Is the name Edom here related to Esau, or is it just
No, I
me
think it's just maybe it's a convert. It's just a name, but it's for sure a Jewish guy. That's the way the Talmud learns it. Number 12.
Then King David was informed. Hashem had blessed the house of Obed Edom and everything he owns in an unprecedented manner because of the ark of Hashem which is in his house. Then David proceeded joyfully from the house of Obed Edom with the ark of God towards the city of David. Doesn't he learn?
What changed?
No, it changed a lot. David saw
No,
the
there's a
ark of
change,
the
the next
covenant.
paragraph.
Wait a second. David saw that the ark of the covenant brings a blessing. What did he realize? It's not about the ark is not bad. It's how you treat it. We also see it, the same idea. It's not the thing, it's what you do with it.
Well, it's like fire.
Which fire are we
Fire
talking
is a
about?
blessing and a
Very good.
curse.
But which fire in the Torah are we talking
The
about?
altar?
No, in the Parsha. What happened in the Parsha? They offered incense, they died.
Right.
When was another case they offered incense and died?
Oh, with
King,
with
I know you're right.
with Elijah.
No.
No, up on the mount on the.
I brought a fire, no, it was
Mount
beautiful.
I know that, but the other
Then
people
the
died.
other time they offered incense and died.
But they
You know it.
Oh, also when with Korach and
Korach, 250 people
Right,
offered
right,
incense and died.
Right, that's right.
Then the Jewish people says, incense? Not for me. I'm running away. I see incense, I cross the street. What happened? God wanted to show that it's not he has nothing against the incense. The incense is not the bad problem, it's what you do with it. Then where God proved it? That incense is something good.
With Aaron.
When?
it cures the plague.
It was a plague.
Yes.
Right after the story of Korach. Moses turns there and says, go bring incense from the altar and stop the plague. Why incense? Rashi says, God wanted to show it's not incense, it just can stop a plague. Incense is not killing people. It's what you do with the incense. The same thing is the ark. It's not the ark who kills anybody. It's what you do with the ark. The ark can bring the biggest blessings. What is another example for it? It was a third example.
With incense? With incense?
No, it incense, it's another thing that people thought it brings only destruction and eventually brought blessings. לא תלמידי חכמים.
Give us a hint.
It's with Moses.
Well, of course, everything's with Moses.
It's not big.
In the beginning, it's more in the book of Exodus.
It's with
Oh, the
fire.
wing, the
Oh,
quail.
bush.
The,
The quail, no? Not the quail.
the arm inside, no, no.
What was the question?
The staff, I mean,
The staff,
The staff, okay.
the Jewish people, it's written, when God told Moses the first time to give water, what he told them? Take the staff that you hit the Egyptian and go bring them water. The Rashi says, why staff? The second time he had to speak to the ark. Couldn't do the first time. God said, the Jewish people say about this staff, it's a terrible staff. He gave 10 plagues to the Egyptian. You see the staff, run away. God said, this staff can bring you blessings. It's not the staff, it's not the incense, it's not the ark, it's us.
and also later grows almonds or whatever it was.
That's what I'm saying. It's not about the thing. It's what you do with the thing.
Copper snake, too, isn't that an example?
Copper snake is a similar idea. I mean, it was not the same snake. Here they took the same thing.
But they
and
took the
brought
symbol of
closer-
something
You're
evil,
right. You're
but,
absolutely right. Yes.
It's your attitude. I mean, without Davanadvihu. I mean, they showed disrespect. They were trying to do something innovative, which goes against the
They
ritual.
wanted to break the rules. They wanted to break the boundaries. They were not invited to offer incense. And they on their own went and offered incense. They were in love with God, but they missed the fear of God. The same problem that's here. They had spiritual anorexia. They had such a love to God that they expired. That's what really happened. You know what's written? Why it happened to them? Because they were not married. That's what's written.
Because they're not
A
anchored
married
together.
guy,
knows
his
how to
wife gives
follow
one look
rules.
at them and tells them, "Where are you going?"
That's true.
But there was also arrogance.
Or she'll threaten you with she'll kill you
replacing
before
Moses and Aaron.
Yeah, but even this strong love of God comes from arrogance. Comes from me. I love God. You see, fear of God, respect, comes from a sense of humbleness. Love comes from a sense of selfishness. No matter how enticed the love to God is, it's I love God. Understand? I want God. Who are you? Let's start right there. You love God, so it's not about you, it's about God. It's what God wants. That any love comes from the most I love. The highest love comes from a sense of selfishness. Yesh mi she'ohev, that's the language in Kabbalah. There is a yesh, there is a somebody. He loves. Fear of God, respect, it means it's about him, not about me. Okay, let's continue. Number 13.
Each time the men carrying the ark of God took...
You realize the change? Each time the men carrying
Right.
the ark of God.
Yeah.
No more wagons.
Are these now Levites?
Obviously.
Doesn't say.
Yeah, it says somewhere. Go ahead.
Each time the men carrying the ark of God took 6 paces, he sacrificed an ox and a fattened ox. David danced joyfully with all his strength before God, dressed in a linen apron. He proceeded with bringing up the ark of God along with the entire house of Israel, with horn blasts and the sound of the shofar.
Wow, it was a huge party. But the sound of the shofar, you see, the first time the sound of the shofar is not mentioned. What the sound of the shofar gives you?
Gives you
A sense of
awe.
fear, awe of God. That's what the sound of the shofar.
Where are they sacrificing all these
I was just
oxen?
gonna ask that. Are they just dumping them along? I mean, are they just to burn them and do a
You're
little
starting
smoke
to
them?
ask me now technical questions. I wasn't there.
And why? What's the significance of
You made
fattened
it.
dogs?
What?
What's the significance of the fattened dogs?
Fat. I mean, if you honor to God, you give everything fat, the best.
Okay.
Obviously,
There weren't sacrifices supposed to be done in a certain place?
That's what I was getting at.
When it was a temple,
this is before the time.
that was in a time there was no temple.
The ark is there.
Between and between.
Well, that's the revolution.
That's what King
gonna
David
be.
wanted to accomplish. He
Right.
wanted to bring it to Jerusalem and start. But when it was in Shiloh, you couldn't offer anywhere else. Here it was not in Shiloh, not in Jerusalem. It was a limbo time. It was in between. In between, you can do whatever you want. It's always chaos in between.
There's some arguments that David himself is doing the sacrifices as priests here. I don't see it. First of all, on a practical level, how does one guy do all these sacrifices?
Quickly.
When he says do it yourself, doesn't mean he's doing everything himself.
Yeah,
Let's say he puts his hand in confesses and offer, and it's
Okay.
already considered him. You understand what I'm
he
saying?
does the final step.
Yeah, it
basically.
doesn't mean that if he's doing like this, it's already considered.
But that
he-
doesn't make him a priest doing the sacrifice.
No, he's not a priest. I'll tell you where it's coming. Because what was he wearing?
Linen,
Not much.
Ephod, right? or
Ephod. The ephod. Who was wearing the ephod?
Well, there were different types of ephods,
Oh,
right?
they were ephod. They were wearing by
High
prophets
priest,
and by high priest.
but kings.
That's why
had
it's
ephods
coming.
too.
Kings did not wear ephod. I don't think so.
But David's a prophet, isn't he?
Prophet? Probably, yes. I don't know if it's officially a
Or at least
prophet.
sort of he's certainly prophetic.
He's prophetic, no question about
But
it.
he's
he
not
wasn't
listed,
the prophet.
he's not-
He had a prophet who came to speak to him. He wasn't the
He's a
prophet.
warrior. He's a king.
In any case, let's continue, guys. Lot to learn today.
Okay, when the ark of God arrived at the city of David, no.
When
When
number
the ark
15.
of God
16, yeah.
Yeah, when the Ark of God arrived at the city of David, Saul's daughter Michal was gazing out the window. She saw her husband King David leaping and dancing before God. She looked upon him with contempt because she felt that it was not appropriate for the king to dance, and certainly not in front of the ark. They brought the ark.
One second.
Okay, this is very,
She looked from the window.
this is one of the most dramatic
No, you brought me a gift?
parts.
She saw him
She was
exposing
embarrassed.
himself,
She was embarrassed.
and she was embarrassed with him.
Right.
Yeah.
She said, "My father, she's royalty." Basically, she looked on David. David became royalty because of her. Married the daughter of the king.
Right.
Said, "My father is a dignified man. He never uncovered one thing of his skin." Behaving like, what is this? In front of all the women and the maidservant. What is this? What kind of behavior is this? That's what she was thinking. She was not the only one in the window, I can promise you this. There were a few other people in the window. Okay, but the verse says that David was jumping and singing in front of God. He didn't do it for himself, he did it for the sake of God. Okay, number 17.
They brought the ark of God and set it in its place in the tent which David had pitched. Then David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before God.
When David finished bringing the burnt offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the God of hosts.
Just like Moses and Aaron came out in the temple and blessed the people, the same thing he did.
He
Number 19.
He
Yeah.
distributed to all the people, to the whole crowd of Israel, men and women, a loaf of bread, a generous portion of good meat, and a bottle of wine, after which everyone went home.
From this are coming the Hasidic custom of rabbis to give out something to everyone. It's coming from King David. King David gave every person a piece of food. Kind of a blessing to take from the party. To bring the blessing of the party to his house.
In Rome, it was called bread and circuses.
I don't know
Never
what it is.
mind.
But it's interesting because, like Moshe, who puts up the tabernacle himself, David pitches the tent. Is there a sort of a...
You're right, I never thought about it, but you're
I
right.
think he must have had some help, right?
Doesn't make
Well,
a
that
difference.
doesn't matter,
It's in his name.
but it's in his name. He's doing it.
He did it, yeah. Listen, David was very into bringing the Ark of the Covenant. There is no
Oh, yeah.
question about that. Here, Chabad stops the Haftorah. But it's in a good mood, because Chabad believes that the Haftorah should be only about the positive. But the other
This is where
Ashkenazi
this-
Jews like to get depressed.
This is where the Sephardi's stop.
You're right, the Sephardi and Chabad, because we stop in a good note. Ashkenazi Jews always like to get angry with themselves and get depressed.
Wonderful story.
Yeah. Number 20.
What? You're done?
David then returned to bless his household, and Shaul's daughter Michal went out to meet him. What an honorable day it was, she said cynically, when the king of Israel exposed some of his body while dancing in the sight of his servants' maids, just like a simpleton.
This is
Wow,
isn't
wow,
that
wow,
good?
wow. He comes home. Outside is the king, right? He comes home like every good Jewish man. Comes home, you this, take out the garbage. By the door, she gave him the whole story. Shame on you. He embarrassed us.
Are we
כאחד הריקים, אחת
Are we going
הריקים.
on?
Yes.
Or we're just going, I thought you
אחת
stopped.
הריקים. When we read the Haftorah in the synagogue, we stop. Now we're learning.
Shabbos, we would stop or whatever.
Then Achad Areikim is not just like just like a simpleton. It's a much more derogatory.
I was going
word.
to just say, is there a word other
Achad
than
Areikim
simple
is
that
like
sounds
it's
awful?
like no, not
Mild.
Not a fool.
What's the Hebrew word that they're using here?
Rek. Achad Areikim is a
A raking, like a rake,
rake. You don't
like a rake.
Rake is an empty one. An empty
A
short.
simpleton?
You know the
Oh,
expression.
that's what they're saying.
And nothing.
An empty shirt. Okay.
Empty. That you behave in the car like an idiot, like a guy from the street. Shame on you.
A rake is promiscuous.
No.
And
Which one?
a rake, the word in English.
In English, I
rake.
don't know. Rake? I never
This
the
is someone that
No, I
plays
know.
around.
This is Hebrew, not English. I'm sorry.
What?
You rake the leaves.
No, this is
No.
different.
Oh, hey,
In
hey,
any
hey,
case,
Sam.
Look
in
it
any
up.
case, number 21. Look what David
Rake
answered.
over the
Who were dancing before God, David said to Michal, who chose me over your father and his entire house to appoint me as ruler over God's people Israel.
Oh. What is David saying? David says, I was dancing in front of God, he told them.
Don't blame me. God picked me over your dad.
He says, you say your father was more respectful? Didn't God chose me over your father? What are you bringing me a proof from your father's behavior?
This is not going over big.
It's going over very well. What he says is to her, what he says here is that your father was busy with his own honor. I am busy with the honor of God. Again, the same issue. It's about me, it's about God. Your father was going around with a suit clean, nobody should be respectful. But who was he about whose respect? His own. I care about the honor of God. I was happy for God. I didn't care about myself. And he continues more, even further in number 22 he goes on. If I
would have lowered myself even further and become humble in my own eyes to dispense with my honor, then I would be even more honored among the maids which you mentioned.
You say, he regretted that he didn't do even more.
Right, it's like adding insult to injury. I mean, he's pouring it on. He's piling on her.
He's saying is that for the sake of God, embarrassing yourself is an honor.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's totally counterintuitive. I mean, this
It's a
can't
different
be.
look on things completely.
Well, I don't even look at it necessarily that he was dishonoring himself.
No, it's
He was
not. That's what he says.
It's not being.
That's for the sake of God, it's an honor. It's not a dishonor.
It's not a dishonor, and it has nothing to do with himself at all.
Yeah,
Not even
well-
to the point where you should judge him.
Well, what,
The same
what
act.
about with Bathsheba?
That's
What
different.
does this to do with here?
Well, it's the
It has
same
nothing
kind
to
of
do with
thing.
it. No.
It's his attitude.
No. Here he's saying one thing. Here he's saying one thing.
Same person,
He says,
different chapter.
he's saying one thing. He says, for the sake of God, the same act. The question is why you do it. At one time it could be, listen, if you get drunk today, you're a total nutcase. If you get drunk on Purim, it's a mitzvah. The same act. The question is for what? If you dance a Simchas Torah, it's beautiful. If you take out the Torah tonight and start to dance like a Meshuggah, they send you to somebody to be seen by somebody, to locked up. That he says for God, that's the honor. It's not about me, it's about God. We finally brought the ark to the temple, to Jerusalem. It's such a big joy. I'm honored that I did it. I'm not only not embarrassed. I wish I would do it even more. That's what he tells them.
What about modesty and humility?
Humility is not about you. Humility is thinking about God. And in time of celebrating for God, that will not be humility. If you don't do what is honoring God, it's not humility, it's arrogance.
He's exposing himself to these women in front of his wife.
Couldn't he have worn a loincloth? I mean,
It's not about, it's about how
Tarzan
you,
did.
Come on, man. And then Michal.
Hey, let's let him get back on
It was
course
his
here.
intent.
He
intended to honor the
I'll tell you,
Isn't the point that it's all context?
absolutely.
I mean, that's the message of the
Absolutely.
Parsha.
It's all in
And
the right
the
context.
Parsha and the Haftorah, it's all context.
In what sense? What's the context?
That in
I
certain,
like-
Your actions
that in
are
certain
contextual.
situations, there are things that are appropriate, and the same things in a different context are not appropriate.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I
As he
think
started
I
with
can't
no shown
buy it.
walking into the
I
water.
don't
I mean,
agree.
to me, that's the life lesson.
It's about everything in life.
Yeah.
It's in the right
Right.
contact, it makes sense.
But also, David is a controversial figure. He's good and he's bad, and he murders and he's a warrior, and he has to do it in that context.
But-
That's what. But you can judge him. You can comment. You can
One
interpret.
second, number 23, let's just finish this part of the
Yeah,
chapter, we will.
Okay,
and then-
so what's Go ahead.
For the sin of insulting King David, Michal, Saul's daughter, had no child to the day of her death.
If Michal was punished for insulting King David, how much more we cannot do this?
So much for that argument.
Rabbi, with all due respect, that is a certain translation there. My feeling was that he was so offended by her, he never slept with her again.
That's
and
not
that's
what's,
why
that's
she
not what's
never had a
written.
child.
That's not what it's written. That's your translation.
Well, but this is, there's an interpretation
no,
here
one
too.
second. It's written that Michal did not have a
Oh,
child.
no.
It's written Michal did not have children until the day she died.
It didn't
So is
say-
that Rashi's interpretation in the
One
parentheses?
second. Michal, if I say to somebody could not have children until he did not have children,
I mean, they tried.
that means that they tried and they could not have children.
Otherwise,
if not, it's written they would separate. They would be
It would
written.
have
They
been the
separated and they
exact
were
opposite.
never together again.
Yes, but
it's not written they were not together again. It's written that she did not have children.
Yeah, but this look, this is for the sin of insulting King David.
Okay.
It's in parentheses.
Okay, I agree.
Right?
I
It's
agree.
in parens.
No problem.
It's not.
But you're right. Forget
Right.
about the parentheses.
Right.
It's written that she could not have children. Obviously,
Right.
they were living
right.
together.
That's right.
Okay? Then now do with it whatever you want, but that's what's written. That's the text.
Right. Yeah.
Now let's think about it. As he said, it's all about the contact of the things.
Mm-hmm.
In the right contact, something is a big mitzvah. In another place, it's a big sin. It's who you do it, in what contact you do it. And all of us,
Okay.
in the right place and in the right time, when we do things, it's appreciated. In other times, it's not appreciated. That what King said, you see, she was an outsider. What I mean with the meaning she was an outsider, she was standing by the window. It's a different if you're a part of the party or you're standing by the window. Sometimes when you watch a video from a party, you don't understand why certain people do certain things. If you would be there,
You don't feel the
and you would
emotion.
be the excitement that was in the room, you would do it too. And she chose not to go, not to participate in for whatever reason. Then King David, even with all what King David did, is considered Yedid Hashem, the beloved of God.
Right.
King David, the whole book of Psalms is King David.
Right. This is foundation for the dynasty.
But would women have
The
been
whole
allowed?
prayer book is King David. The whole prayer book is from the book of Psalms.
Right. The whole idea of the future and God
Everything,
will always love the
And
covenant
right
never
after,
dies.
right in this chapter, it's written about that God promised King David
Right.
that his children, from his children will be a kingdom forever,
Right,
until Moshiach.
right.
Maybe that's the reward for dancing.
Wow.
It's right, the next part, right there.
Right. No, I know. I read it.
Okay, now I want to tell you a story. The Rebbe in the 70s, hippies started to come to 770.
Hippies?
You ever heard about that?
He was one.
And long year they used to come and they started to be closer to Yiddishkeit. Once in the middle of a big Verbrenken, was a lot of singing, the Rebbe turned to one of the guys and made him a sign to whistle, because there was a lot of singing. And he started to whistle and he was whistling and he was whistling. And the started became a thing that every few months, once in a while, the Rebbe is doing it. And once somebody caught a picture, how the Rebbe is putting his fingers in his mouth, and he put a picture in the newspaper. And everybody started to say, oh, the Rebbe is whistling, and it's in a synagogue. That I remember Purim 1976, the Rebbe had talk about it. It's on tape. And I remember that when I was a child, it was broadcast to Israel, middle of the night, and I understood Yiddish, and I learned this story in the book of Samuel in Cheder, that I knew the story, that when the Rebbe spoke about it, I was able to. The Rebbe said, everybody saw, the Rebbe was whistling in the synagogue. The Rebbe said, first of all, it's written and we have a story about King David, that he was jumping and going crazy for the sake of God. And he knew that people look from the windows. And he still did it. And he was not regretting in it. And he says, that was not for my honor, for the sake of God. And the Rebbe said, by whistling this person, by the Rebbe telling him whistling, he turned him around, he got him. And he came back to Judaism because of this. And this man, I remember in my times, he had a certain spot, he didn't understand the word of Yiddish. He had a certain spot, standing by the Farbrengens, waiting, the Rebbe should give him the order to whistle. And it could happen once a year, or twice a year. And he came every week, every time he showed up. He just passed away. And his whole life was the whistling. It was like the Rebbe saved him from wherever this hippie, how low he reached. In one turn, the Rebbe took him. And then the Rebbe said there is a Talmudic, the Talmud says, then before Moshiach will come, how will know the Jews that Moshiach is coming? Will be a whistle. Then it was a story in the Talmud about a bird that whistled, and somebody said maybe Moshiach came, and they said no, it was not Moshiach, she was a false bird, a false alarm basically. But there is the book of, I think in Zechariah, it's written that Eshre Kolohem, God will whistle to the Jewish people that Moshiach is coming. The Rebbe said it's even written, it's a sign of Moshiach whistling.
Where was that?
And whistling in the right time, in the right place. Obviously, you start to whistle in the middle of the service, people throw you out of the shul. But if you whistle not on Shabbos and Yom Tov, you're not allowed to whistle. But during the week, in a time of celebration, it's the right thing. There is more to the Haftorah. We'll stop right here. And we will learn that for the sake of God, going crazy is a part of the service of God. In the right time.